In the quiet suburbs of Henderson, Nevada, on a chilly morning in December 2009, an ordinary white Chevy Cavalier turned into a quiet cul-de-sac and parked. Its driver, a young man dressed neatly in slacks and a white button-down shirt, stepped out and walked away, disappearing into the neighborhood. His name was Steven Koecher, and from that moment, he was never seen again. Steven Koecher was 30 years old at the time of his disappearance. Born and raised in St. George, Utah, Steven was a gentle soul, known for his polite nature, deep faith as a Latter-day Saint, and an unassuming presence. Those who knew him remember him as someone who loved the outdoors, served as a missionary, and worked in journalism before struggling to keep steady work during the economic recession. In 2009, like so many others across the United States, Steven found himself caught in the harsh reality of job loss. The once promising journalism graduate was reduced to part-time jobs washing windows, distributing flyers, and doing odd jobs to stay afloat. Despite his challenges, Steven kept his struggles largely to himself, often reassuring his family that he was doing fine and actively seeking better opportunities. But as investigators would later discover, behind this calm exterior, there may have been a private storm brewing. In the days leading up to his disappearance, Steven made a series of puzzling trips that have never been fully explained. Between the 10th of December and the 12th of December, 2009, he drove more than 1,100 miles across Utah and Nevada. Where exactly he went, who he met, and why he traveled such a distance remains unknown. To his family, Steven explained he was job hunting, perhaps following up on possible leads. But no evidence of applications, interviews, or meetings has ever surfaced to support this claim. These unexplained journeys form the backdrop to the most confounding part of Steven's story, his final known movements on the 13th of December, 2009. At precisely 11:54 a.m., surveillance cameras in the Anthem neighborhood of Henderson, Nevada, captured Steven's white Chevy Cavalier entering a quiet residential cul-de-sac. He parked, got out, and walked down the sidewalk, briefly disappearing from view. The footage shows him walking casually, carrying what may have been a folder or small object. There was nothing in his posture or pace to suggest distress or urgency. This small fragment of footage would become the last confirmed sighting of Steven Koecher. From that moment, it was as if he vanished into thin air. Inside his car, investigators found several items that seemed to suggest Steven hadn't intended to disappear voluntarily. His cell phone, his wallet, and other personal belongings were left inside. The car itself was parked legally, and there were no obvious signs of struggle. Calls and text messages continued to come through to his phone for a short while after his disappearance, but none were answered. Even more unsettling, cell tower data showed that his phone moved around the area for a brief time after he walked away, but what exactly happened remains unclear. To Steven's family, the sudden silence was terrifying. Steven wasn't the type to disappear without telling anyone. He was close to his parents, his siblings, and his church community. As hours turned into days, the family rushed to Henderson, hoping to find Steven safe, maybe lost or confused. But each passing day only deepened the mystery. The search efforts were swift and widespread. Volunteers combed through desert areas, neighborhoods, parks, and abandoned lots, looking for any trace of Steven. Flyers were posted everywhere. Local news covered the case, and for a brief moment, the story caught public attention. Yet, every possible lead seemed to dissolve into nothing. Why would Steven have driven from St. George, Utah, all the way to Henderson, Nevada, and why that neighborhood in particular? It wasn't an area he was known to frequent, and to this day, investigators have never found evidence of anyone he knew living there. Some theories suggest that Steven may have been meeting someone for a job opportunity. Perhaps he was delivering something or had an informal meeting. Others have proposed darker possibilities that he may have been lured under false pretenses, targeted by someone who intended to harm him. Yet, no witnesses saw him after he walked away from his car, and no physical evidence of foul play has ever been found. As the months passed, the trail grew colder. Steven's bank accounts showed no activity. His phone eventually went dark, and the movements captured by cell towers offered no clear direction.
There's not one shred of evidence that suggests that Steven did this to himself or that Steven walked away. Some debt that he needed to clear up, and someone made him an offer, and he took it probably not knowing what that was, and it resulted in his disappearance and what we believe is his death.
Investigators checked nearby businesses, hospitals, and shelters. They looked into known criminals operating in the area and checked Steven's personal life for signs of secret struggles or hidden relationships. But nothing pointed toward what had happened that day. Some speculated that Steven, under the weight of financial pressures and possible depression, may have chosen to disappear deliberately or even take his own life.
I have photos of a room that was destroyed at about the same time. So is that based on a struggle, a fight, and a death? Is it based on a struggle, a fight, and a kidnapping? Is it based on somebody who's just mad? I don't know.
Yet those who knew him best find this hard to accept. Steven was deeply connected to his family and faith. He had plans to visit his family for Christmas just weeks later. His car contained items suggesting future plans, maps, notes, and personal effects. There was no suicide note, no goodbye, no indication of intent to leave everything behind. Then there's the strange pattern of his travels. What could have compelled a man struggling financially to drive hundreds of miles in just a few days? If he had been seeking work, why weren't there records of job applications or interviews? Could he have been meeting someone secretly? Was he being followed or threatened? These questions linger, with no answers in sight. For his family, the weight of these unknowns has been unbearable. His mother has spoken of the agony of not knowing what happened to her son, whether he is alive somewhere, hurt, or worse.
It starts out, it says, "I know at times like this, taking one day at a time can be a pretty tall order. Maybe it will help to know we are thinking of you." Knew that was horrible news.
Steven Koecher is Steven's younger brother.
We knocked on all the doors. We had pictures of Steven. We said, "Have you seen this person? Have you seen this person?" And no one had seen him.
Why? Where? What got you there? What happened? There's a lot, but the one question is, are you comfortable? Are you safe? Are you at peace?
Each year since his disappearance, they've kept his memory alive through prayer services and public appeals for information. They've appeared on podcasts and television shows about missing persons, hoping that someone, somewhere, might remember something that could provide a clue. The case of Steven Koecher also highlights how easily someone can vanish even in modern times, surrounded by security cameras, digital footprints, and constant communication. Despite all the tools of modern investigation, Steven's trail seemed to evaporate after just a few steps on a quiet suburban street. Steven Koecher's story is a reminder of the fragility of life, the unpredictability of circumstance, and the depth of loss felt by those left behind. His disappearance is not just a puzzle to be solved, but a wound that continues to ache for everyone who loved him. As time moves on, memories fade and media attention wanes, but Steven's family continues to search for closure. They hope that someday, someone who knows something, no matter how small, will step forward. That perhaps a single forgotten detail might finally explain why Steven drove to Henderson that December morning and why he never came back. Until then, the disappearance of Steven Koecher remains an open case, a chilling echo of how someone can vanish without a trace even in plain sight. More than a decade has passed, but the mystery has not dimmed. Somewhere, the truth of what happened to Steven Koecher is still out there, waiting to be discovered. For his family, and for those who still remember his gentle spirit and quiet strength, that truth can't come soon enough.